Listening right now, Mayor de Blasio is coming to the microphone along with Commissioner O'Neill. You see Governor Cuomo there as well. I see the Fire Commissioner Nigro off to the right. The District Attorney, Cy Vance, off camera there to the left. Other personnel, I see John Miller, Counterterrorism Deputy Commissioner. We're going to get all the details from all these gentlemen as we go forward here on this Halloween.
Everybody. Steve, we good?
Yes, sir.
All right. Just keep in mind, this incident occurred a little more than 2 hours ago, so all the information that we're giving you right now is preliminary and subject to change. After I speak, you're going to hear from Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio. Bill Sweeney, from the Assistant Director in charge of the New York FBI office, is standing up here with me, too. We have members of my executive staff. We have Cy Vance and members of the state police. First, I just want to say that today there was a loss of innocent life in Lower Manhattan. The dead and injured were just going about their days, heading home from work or from school, or enjoying the afternoon sun on bicycles. This is a tragedy of the greatest magnitude for many people, for many families here in New York City and beyond today. I want to commend the response of our NYPD officer that was on post near the location, who stopped the carnage moments after it began. Also, the work of the first responders, including the fire department and EMS personnel, surely helped save additional lives. As I said, I'll give more of a chronology in a couple of minutes, but right now I'd like to introduce Mayor de Blasio.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's a very painful day in our city. Horrible tragedy on the West Side. Let me be clear that based on the information we have at this moment, this was an act of terror, and a particularly cowardly act of terror aimed at innocent civilians, aimed at people going about their lives who had no idea of what was about to hit them. We, at this moment, based on the information we have, we know of 8 innocent people who have lost their lives and over a dozen more injured. We know that this action was intended to break our spirit, but we also know New Yorkers are strong, New Yorkers are resilient, and our spirit will never be moved by an act of violence, an act meant to intimidate us. We have been tested before as a city very near the site of today's tragedy, and New Yorkers do not give in the face of these kinds of actions. We'll respond as we always do. We will be undeterred. And I want to thank everyone at the NYPD, all our first responders, for their extraordinary efforts in the midst of this tragedy, starting with the officer who stopped this tragedy from continuing, all of the first responders who came to the aid of those who were injured. Investigation is underway to get all the facts, and what we'll tell you today, of course, will be preliminary. But we know we will get down to the bottom of what happened. I want to ask all New Yorkers, all Americans, to keep the families of those lost in your thoughts and prayers. They will need our support. And I want to ask all New Yorkers to be vigilant. We know it's Halloween night, and we know in the days ahead people will be uneasy. We ask all New Yorkers to live by the idea: if you see something, say something, tell an officer immediately. If you see anything unusual, anything that worries you, be vigilant, and know that there will be extensive additional employments of NYPD officers this evening and throughout the days ahead. We will also keep you posted as this investigation continues and as the NYPD gains more information. Governor Cuomo.
Thank you. First, our thoughts and prayers are with those New Yorkers who we lost today. It reminds us all how precious life is. They left the house this morning. They were enjoying the beautiful west side of Manhattan on a beautiful fall day, and they're not going to be returning home. And that shock and that pain is going to be very real. And our thoughts and our prayers are with all of them. Our first responders did an extraordinary job. The NYPD, the FDNY, the FBI, the New York State Police, EMS, We have the finest security on the globe. And to see them in action today proved that once again. The new terrorist tactic, which they've called for publicly, are these lone wolves who commit an act of terror. This is all very preliminary. It's only been a couple of hours, but at this point there's no evidence to suggest a wider plot or a wider scheme. But the actions of one individual who meant to cause pain and harm and probably death and the resulting terror. And that was the purpose. We will be vigilant. More police everywhere. You'll see them in the airports. You'll see them in the tunnels. It's not because there's any evidence of any ongoing threat or any additional threat. It is just out of vigilance and out of caution. And the truth is, New York is an international symbol of freedom and democracy. That's what we are, and we are proud of it. That also makes us a target for those people who oppose those concepts. And we've lived with this before. We felt the pain before. We feel the pain today. But we go forward together, and we go forward stronger than ever. We're not going to let them win. And if we change our lives, we contort ourselves to them, then they win and we lose. We'll go about our business. Again, there's no ongoing threat. There's no evidence of that at this time. So there's no reason to have any undue anxiety. You will see more security forces, but that's only because it's an abundance of caution and not a signal of anything else. And there'll be continued investigation, and justice will be done. But again, to those we lost, they are in our thoughts and our prayers. To the first responders, thank you, thank you, thank you for the job you do. You put your life on the line every day, and you do it better than anyone else. And to New Yorkers, be New Yorkers and live your life, and don't let them change us or deter us in any manner, shape, or form. Thank you.
Thanks, Governor Cuomo. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, as I said, I'm going to go through the chronology here, and I know when I'm done, you're going to have a lot of questions, but we're not going to go too deep into it. It's only 2 hours. And after I get done with the chronology, Dan Nigro is going to talk about the injuries. All right, so at 3:05 p.m., a male driving a rented Home Depot pickup truck entered the West Side Highway bicycle path at Houston Street, began driving southbound, striking a number of pedestrians and bicyclists along the route. At Chambers Street, the truck collided with a school bus, injuring 2 adults and 2 children. After the collision, the driver of the truck, a 29-year-old male, exited the vehicle brandishing 2 handguns. A uniformed police officer assigned to the 1st Precinct confronted the subject and shot him in the abdomen. The subject was wounded and transported to a local hospital. A paintball gun and a pellet gun were recovered at the scene. The subject's identity is not being released at this time, pending further investigation. At this point, there are 8 fatalities reported in connection with this incident. In addition, several people have been injured, and Commissioner Nigro from our fire department will discuss that. Dan?
Thank you, Jim. As Police Commissioner said, six of the people died. They were pronounced at the scene between Houston Street and Chambers Street. They were all males. 2 others were transported in traumatic arrest and were pronounced at the hospital. We also transported 11 people, all with serious, but at this moment not life-threatening injuries. The injuries are what you may expect as a truck went at high speed down that bicycle path and struck bicyclists and pedestrians. There may be more injuries as people self-evacuated, and we will determine that later as we do our survey. But that's the patient count and the deaths as we know it now.
All right, at this point, we're going to take some questions. Miles, hold on, Miles.
This is something that John Miller talks about all the time. Terror attacks or these kind of things where it's a rented truck. This is something that you guys do in the Shield all the time. You talk with these truck companies. Have you guys talked to Home Depot recently about this kind of being vigilant about this?
Hey, John, you want to talk about the program a little bit?
Sure.
So as you know, through the SHIELD program, we do a very wide outreach. We have just under 20,000 members in the private sector. After ISIS, Rumiyah magazine came out with the issue just about 2 years ago, around this time of year, suggesting car attacks. You'll recall one of the targets they suggested was the Thanksgiving Day parade. We went and did extensive outreach to the truck rental business. We visited over 148 truck rental locations in this area, the obvious ones, U-Haul, Ryder, Home Depot, etc., and talked about suspicious indicators, ways to come forward. After attacks on the German Christmas market, after Nice, we repeated those visits 2 more times, either by making telephonic contact, email, or going back to the same places. So the industry has had a high level of awareness on this matter from the NYPD.
John, is there, Commissioner, is there any indication that the suspect is a lone wolf, perhaps radicalized here in America, or is there any indication of a wider international?
And it's way too early to discuss that. I mean, this just happened 2 hours ago, and that's, of course, part of our investigation.
You've heard about some police activity up in the
Initially, we thought it might have been, but it turned out not to be. Yep.
You had a residence in New York or any?
This is all part of the investigation.
Do you know what the security status is in Northern Ireland? We heard some reports of schools that were under lockdown. Is there anything going on because of this activity that parents or people in that area should be aware of beyond?
No, this incident is over. It did end right by Stuyvesant High School, so we had to make sure that all the kids were taken care of, and we held them in place for a while. And it was important that we do that. But this incident is over. David, hold on, David.
By the age of the suspect and then the victims, and then was there any indication earlier that maybe he had outfitted the van to resemble a bomb, that there were maybe gas canisters and fires?
He's a 29-year-old male, and I'm not going to talk about the truck right now. Right there.
Yes. Can you confirm that the suspect said Allah Akbar or anything to that effect? And if so, is that the only indication that this may be an act of terrorism, or what else is it that leads you to label?
Yeah, he did make a statement when he exited the vehicle, and if you just look at the MO of the attack, that's consistent with what's been going on. So that along with the statement, has enabled us to label this a terrorist event. Yeah, no, not right now.
Do you have his nationality, and was there any intelligence leading up to this that there was something in the works?
Yeah, again, 2 hours old, and we'll update you as we go along. Lenny.
Who's in charge of the investigation?
It's being conducted jointly with the NYPD and the FBI.
Can you confirm the license is from Florida?
From Florida? Yeah, I'm not going to go into that. Yep, John. Not John, not right now, no. Yes. After the Times Square incident, I talked about this. Any incident that happens in New York or happens in the country or happens around the world, we have to learn from that. So, of course, we're going to take a look at that. Yep. Yeah, he's in the hospital. I'm not going to tell you what hospital. And I'm going to let Chief Gomez talk about what we're doing for the Halloween parade tonight. Carlos?
All right. In less than 90 minutes, that parade will kick off. We will proceed with the parade, and certainly we've added more resources, more police officers, heavy weapons teams, block of vehicles on the street leading to the route, as well as more sand trucks. And there's also heavy weapons teams being deployed throughout the city at key iconic locations.
Well, this is why we do investigations. You know, initially, I'm sure whoever put that out wasn't sure what the event was, and now 2 hours into it, this is the determination that we made. Yep, in the first row. Yeah. Too early in the investigation to know that. Rocco. I haven't looked at the video yet. We're retrieving as much video as possible. What we do know is he entered the bike path at Houston Street and exited the bike path at Chambers Street when he collided with the school bus. And there are no intersections on the west side of the bike path between Houston and Chambers. And hold on one second, in the back there. Dan, do you have that?
They're among the injured that are serious but not life-threatening.
All right, they're among the injured that are serious but not life-threatening. Yes?
Were they the only two children of the time, and which Home Depot was the rented?
We're not going to talk about where the Home Depot was rented from just yet. And Bob, do we know how many people were on the bus?
4 total, 2 adults, 2 children.
There were 2 adults and 2 children on the school bus. In the back? Lisa?
Where he came into the city?
Don't know. That's part of the investigation. Yep. No, we don't have that yet.
All right, guys, listen, as we said, there's a lot of information to be gotten. We wanted to give you a preliminary. We're getting into a little bit too much detail at this point. We'll have more for you that later. We'll give you another briefing as more information comes available. But I'm going to, at this point, ask you to wait until further information at another briefing.
Look, I'll just close this off here by saying, look, again, NYPD is investigating this with our federal partners, with our state partners. There's going to be a very, very thorough investigation. But the most important thing, as Governor Cuomo said, as Commissioner O'Neill said, people should go about their business knowing that NYPD is out in force with our partner agencies tonight and throughout the week. Very important additional measures are being taken for people's safety. But the bottom line is we are going to go about our business in the city. We're not going to be deterred. And we'll get you updates later on in the evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you.